Howdy, and welcome to the Texas Bucket List, where we celebrate all things that are the Lone Star State, including its amazing authors. Today we showcase Robert Howard, and if you're not familiar with who Robert Howard is, consider yourself a barbarian that happens to have the name of Conan. Cross Plains is by no means a massive town in Texas. With less than 1,000 residents, it's sort of like the plains you cross to get to Abilene, Comanche, or Coleman. But if you take time to stop at a house in the crosshairs of Cross Plains, you'll find out this little place has had a big influence on the whole world, thanks to a man named Robert E. Howard. Who was Robert E. Howard?
Man, what a loaded question.
Arlene Stephenson is a volunteer at the Robert E. Howard Museum, which is housed in the original house Robert E. Howard grew up in and wrote his many works. But we're not talking novels of nonfiction. Howard had one heck of an imagination.
He knew he wanted to be a writer real early on. He just had that creative streak. I guess you might say he was almost a nerd before nerds had been invented type thing. Complex probably as they come, but I think most creative people probably are. You know, his mind just ran in so many different directions.
Howard is considered the father of the sword and sorcery style of writing, thanks to a character he created called Conan. So, kind of the beginnings for all the things that are popular now with Game of Thrones and
right.
Dungeons and Dragons. And...
a lot of that could be traced back to influence of Howard's writings.
That's amazing.
Well, this is the iconic photograph of Howard.
He looks like such a serious writer.
Yeah, he was there. He definitely was.
An avid reader of pulp magazines as a teenager, Robert submitted a story for consideration, and by the age of 19, he was being published in Weird Tales magazine. But fantasy wasn't his only forte. Robert wrote about boxing, westerns, adventures, pretty much anything he put his mind to.
He was actually making more money at a penny a word than probably anybody in town except the banker.
Wow. So Robert was the breadwinner of the house.
He was the breadwinner if you look at income cash.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So his parents didn't want him to move out, I guess. In December of 1932, Conan made his first appearance and created a whole new genre.
He had a major influence on a whole lot of what we're seeing today, and they're making great inroads in getting him more accepted broadly as a literary, not just one of these pulp writers, but more of a literary genius.
And then this is his actual room. This is where he did everything.
That's where it happened.
Wow.
That little old tiny room, 6 foot wide.
Crazy to think that he was able to come up with everything right in here.
Absolutely crazy.
Robert lived in this home with his family till the age of 30, when he tragically took his own life. But his legacy lives on today.
That's the big question, what if? It's that great big hanging, what if?
So by the time he died, he had made how many characters?
Brand McMorran, Solomon Kane, El Borak, Steve Costigan, Breckenridge Elkins.
And Conan the Barbarian.
And Conan. He didn't call him Conan the Barbarian.
Really?
He was just Conan.
When did the Barbarian come in?
Somebody else stuck that on there somewhat later. But in Howard's pure writing, it was just Conan.
Well, the Robert E. Howard Museum wouldn't be complete without the writings of Robert E. Howard.
Right, I mean, that's that's our money.
Yeah, you gotta make money somehow. All the Conan stories can be found in these three books.
Yes.
These are not light readings. This is wordy, long.
That was his writing.
Wow.
Of course, he is very verbose.
Robert never got to see Conan in the comics or the incredible flicks from the 80s. But we should have known deep down that Conan is a Texan.
Started right here in Texas and ended right here in Texas, but oh man, it's gone a long ways.
Would have been a much different movie or book or whatever if you would have realized that Conan was really talking like a Texan.
It wouldn't that have been funny? Schwarzenegger talking like a Texan. Maybe if he'd taken these marbles out of his mouth, maybe he could.
So Robert didn't write the line, "Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women."
I cannot truly answer that. I do not know.
One of the bigger quotes from the Conan movie.
Right.
Of course, every time you do it, you have to do it in
Right.
Schwarzenegger's voice.
But if the shapes of the men were blasted into iron images by some god or devil, how'd that come to life?
And you don't even have marbles in your mouth.
While the films were fun, the real reason to visit this really small home to understand the amazing influence Robert had on the literary world and the world of fantasy.
He was a pure Texan that created from a Texas environment, influenced by Texas, and just kind of went on to conquer the world.